Disturbing details in the Avon daycare case. A former worker charged with sexually assaulting several young boys facing another charge.
Your chief investigative reporter Sam Smink is joining us in the studio with more. Sam.
This is the sixth victim. Former Bright Path Avon employee John Carlos Barrios Otero is accused of sexually abusing. This one wasn't caught on tape, but police said Barrios Otero operated the same way as he did with his other victims. He even offered to babysit. Police say the latest victim is only 4 years old, and at the beginning of March, he told his parents during a bath that Mr. John had touched him. His parents told police they thought he was being silly or referencing Barrios Otero helping their son in the bathroom. He also started saying he didn't want to go to school. Their son had been in Barrios Otero's classroom for a year. When Barrios Otero was arrested April 1st, police say the victim's dad asked his son if Barrios Otero had touched him. He said yes, further saying Barrios Otero touches him during nap time, moving his cot towards the corner of the room. He held up 10 fingers when asked about how many times he was touched. Police say surveillance video only covered 22 days of Barrios Otero's work schedule, so they did not find video in this case. But they say the boy's story matches what video does show with other victims, that Barrios Otero touches them during nap time, taking their cots to a corner where he is blocked from public view. The parents of this latest victim told police Barrios Otero offered to babysit once. In the warrant, police say this happened before, writing, quote, "One common theme in meeting and speaking with victims' families is that Barrios Otero almost always attempts to get into the home of the families to babysit." Police note in the warrant that other parents came forward saying they had previously seen minor injuries on their children, but didn't think it was sexual abuse until the arrest. Attorneys who represent two families who are suing Bright Path encourage parents to think and review any changes they may have noticed in their children, including behavioral changes, injuries, sleep disturbances, or unusual statements, even if they seemed insignificant at the time. Your chief investigative reporter, Sam Smink, Channel 3 Eyewitness News.
Some tough stuff to hear there, Sam. Thank you.